So you can see it on the previous page.
And the front entrance to the lobby looks like it faces Pearl Street.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and the parking for the community building will be on the Pearl Street side.
Okay.
Yeah. Option 3 is another attempt to design the building such that we can keep the existing building in place while you're building it. So you can still see the rectangle there in the plan. This one has the most parking of any of the options. You know, whether or not you build all of it, you know, could be up to discussion and devote more of the space kind of to green space. This one has kind of a drive-through for the drop-off in front of the building off the parking area, and then has kind of the playground and pavilion area off to the side in the trees. This one has the stage area up to the side of the building, opening up into kind of that back lawn space. I kind of thought that would be a good space to have, the lawn seating, because you get a lot of shade during the day from the trees. So the next sheet is the enlarged plan of that version. And sort of similar to the last one, not quite as symmetrical, but you come into the main lobby and kind of have your choice of the 3 main rooms to go into. And then there is a small, smaller kind of incubator kind of space, conference room or workroom that could be rented out or, used as needed. And again, the outdoor stage is connected to the building, but sort of facing easterly towards Pearl Street. And then the last one is really just a close version of option 1, with just the building shape a little bit different and the location of the amphitheater a little bit different. It's very similar to option 1. So it's called option 1 here. And Marla, if you could keep going with PowerPoint. I did want to just share some other things that are in the PowerPoint. They're not in the handouts, but just some ideas about that green space and what it could be, incorporating maybe playground areas, natural areas. I think there's a movement in playground design now to be more inclusive towards accessibility, but also towards incorporating just sort of green space into playground space. Walking tracks, things like that. So here's kind of an example where there's a walking track kind of around the playground area, and it's all kind of put into a green space. So it's more like a park-like setting, as opposed to just kind of you come up to the playground area and it's just the playground area, where here it's more kind of integrated into an overall concept. And there's just a couple other examples, Marla, if you want to just kind of go through them, where you can see where, trees and greenery is all kind of part of the playground concept. And, even sort of spacing out the playground elements more, where there's more space for adults to congregate rather than just children, kind of in amongst the playground use. So again, these are just some different ideas that could be incorporated in that green space. Kind of melding the tree garden, arboretum idea with play space for kids and attracting families, things like that, picnic shelters.
Do you think that if we had a space like that, that we would also need to have some sort of bathroom facility or something to?
Yeah, I
do
guess depending on the building location, I mean, you could leave the lobby of the building open and lock off all the separate rooms to have access to toilets. Or you could do a separate toilet structure. I think maybe in option one, the building being pretty far away from the playground area, it might make more sense to do a separate structure. But option 2 and 3, they're a little bit more centrally located. But yeah, I mean, you could just leave the main doors open to the community center and lock off the rest.
I don't know if anybody was looking on the last couple, I studied in pretty hard.
Yeah, I generally would say that's problematic.
Yeah, Chad would probably wouldn't like that idea.
Yeah, it's problematic.
You might have people sleeping in
He has
there.
trouble maintaining bathroom facilities at the park.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Well, not to say you leave them open 24/7, but
Well, then I was actually thinking of, and about the playground equipment. Then I see that as having right many issues attached to it too. Because would you allow children just to go over there and play at random? And I'm thinking no.
Well, we could start off having benches and walking related to the media center, that if somebody wants to check out a book and wants to use the internet outside, they've got opportunity to do such.
But I mean, whenever you're talking about for like family reunions and so forth, you actually need the playground because it makes it more likely that people would rent it for reunions, because they can have whatever they want to on the inside, but the children aren't stuck inside, that they can at least go out and do something.
Perfectly told.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's something to think about, because you wouldn't be able to keep people not related to the event away.
Exactly.
The worst thing is trying to keep kids out of it from just playing any time. You're going to have to fence the place in. Because other than that, I mean, kids are going to play. They're going to play if you fence it in. They're going to scale the fence. So if you're going to put a park there, you might as well count on it's going to be an open park.
yeah, I mean, I guess I'm wondering why that's a bad thing necessarily.
I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. We've got one right down the street that kids play.
Wanting to control, maintenance issues over time, but I think it would be nice if it was just kind of an open space for everyone,
Yeah, and you're wanting downtown or Center Street to be a destination from the high school, so it would be the primary kids are going to another location for school. So if they had one sibling going to the library, possibly the other sibling could be outside or whatever.
And I think if you're there for a rented event, in the building, then you just have access to the playground with other kids that are out there. I mean, you don't rent the actual playground, but you have access to it.
Yeah, I think that sounds like an idea to me, because, there's a few extra kids out there that aren't part of your party. That's okay. That's not a big deal.
Right.
But maybe like if you had this pavilion or something, maybe that's part of the, you could section it off, because like say the people, I don't know, you could reserve it or something.
Yeah.
That you could
Well,
reserve it.
And on option 3, you got 2 areas of playgrounds.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's a lot of flexibility in how this exterior space could be utilized.
Well, not to get, it seems like we're straying, we're kind of looking at community center ideas, but the option 3 was, that is kind of a surprise. I was definitely thinking outside the box there, the way you turned the property on and used the space. That one, to me, that's the most sensible use of the property. You know, it doesn't give you that riding down Center Street, oh, there's our big, you know, community center, because it's kind of tucked away, but to me, that's lesser important than having, utilizing the space. So I kind of like the way you got that, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the building has to be a little more kind of spread out
Yeah.
horizontally to fit.
Yeah, and you're kind of using that ditch space that's kind of not usable, you know, over against there, with the back of the building.
Right.
And also it allows you to keep the current building in place until the new building is finished. So that's something that one and one thing you don't do. Yeah, and there's way more parking, which is good. And
I like to drive the covered drive,
yeah,
because on option 1, if you get somebody coming down off Center Street, somebody stops in there, it's gonna back traffic up into the road.
yeah,
The other one gets off by itself, it's not in the drive.
yeah. Yeah, I'm a fan of that 3.
Well, Marla and I talked earlier today, and because of some funding things that may be in the works with the General Assembly or other funding sources, to have a public hearing, our next town board meeting, or public comment section, and hopefully make a decision on all 3 options in the next 30 days.
And one of the things I suggested is we take these drawings and set up a Facebook poll, and then get some bigger ones mounted and set them up on easels, maybe in the conference room or the lobby, so people can come by and study them, you can touch them, and leave comments that way as well. And all that can be going on at the next meeting, because we'll advertise that we're having a public comment section on plans. And they can't come before the meeting, they can come that night to see.
Kevin, do you have any thoughts
Oh, look,
representing?
snuck in, I didn't even see
Did she snuck in?
Yeah, she's not
you.
in.
Okay.
You didn't see her either?
Uh-uh.
I had to learn how to vote people, so sorry. Refresh.
I mean, I like number 3 too. It gives you 66 parking spaces. Buildings, it still leaves plenty of room for green space and play area, and you get the same building you're looking for. And if you have 150 people there for an event, 66 parking spaces would be nice.
Yeah, when I first saw the first plan, I was like, oh, that looks awesome. And then all of them are really good.
Yeah,
But
I like the shape of the first one.
I do too. That was-
The way that the back wing kinda went with the shape of the property and
exactly.
stuff.
Because I think
And I
I
like the
mentioned
idea.
that. I don't know if you do it. I was like, he was listening to us.
What I like about option 1 is like the front porch concept where it kind of blends in, so it has a presence on Center Street, but it's not screaming, I don't belong here.
Yeah.
So, and then I was thinking, when everybody started talking about option 3, I agree it's the same elements, gives you more parking, a little bit different, and it'll be a centerpiece of downtown.
Mm-hmm.
But that second playground, I'm thinking, what else could it be instead of a playground? That part right there that fronts the road,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know what it could be.
Option
Mayor
one.
Rain statue, maybe?
Yeah.
Well, now you say that, but, there's a flagpole for Mr. Gurley at the community building.
Mm-hmm.
And so that might be a good place to relocate that, just to have that flagpole and flag and the stuff that came with the property.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I like about option number one is the business incubator center. And if we were to move to another option, if that could be perhaps somewhere close to the same square footage, but I think there is a need for, and Kevin may want to make a comment here, but for someone that maybe has a home-related business that may want to meet a client somewhere, that this would be or to rent space on a monthly basis for a smaller office-type business.
The square footage of the building on option 1 and 3, are they the same? Or is one
Option
bigger?
one is right around 7,000 square feet, and I'm sorry I didn't make it on the plan anywhere for some reason, but 7,000 square feet is what option one is. And the other two are a little bit smaller, but it's mostly because of that incubator space. So,
Well, could the playground that's closest to Center Street be made smaller and the meeting room have a gap between it and the library and put the business incubator in there?
yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, there's definitely opportunities to get it to fit in.
That way you can get the same usage out of the building as option 1, but you still end up with the option 3 of the layout
Right.
of the site.
Yeah, you just don't want to bump too far because the other building is right there, where that dotted line is.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you might have to kind of move the building to the right in
Yeah.
order to expand it to the left. Yeah.
And I like the 3 having more of a grand lobby rather than just a big long hallway kind of lobby. I like that better too.
At the community college, we had an event there 2 weeks ago, Heritage Commission, and the lobby goes to the auditorium, but the lobby, we could sit 200 people in that lobby, and that's actually where we had the concert, was in the lobby. So I could see even the lobby, putting chairs in the lobby, and it could be a small little event center also, or if you had exhibits, art exhibits, you could put art exhibits in that lobby.
Yeah. You know, it's not to say that, again, in option one, you couldn't create a larger space at one end, expand it out or something. And that, it's not a narrow corridor, it's a 12-foot wide space, so it's still pretty good size. But, kind of like where the doors are to the meeting room, you could expand it out maybe to that level on both sides to make it feel a little bit more grand when you first walk in.
And the men and women's bathrooms, those are meant to have how many stalls is it?
There's 3 stalls in each.
Okay.
Yeah. And that is based on real numbers, of occupants in the building.
Okay.
You could always add more to it, but that would be your code minimum.
Do we have any kind of watershed restrictions of having this much pavement in this area? Are we having any problems with that?
I mean, that's something we'd have to look into further with a civil engineer.
Not you gave it to
Figure it out.
yourself.
But there's,
We can occupy up to 70% impervious surface. in the commercial areas. But you have to, for however many acres this is, you have to take it off of your
Oh,
allowable acres.
gotcha.
You also could use a semi-pergolas parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got a lot of pavement and building out there now that you may sort of get grandfathered because of what's already there,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So what this may not, the option 3 may not be that much more than what's currently there.
Mm-hmm.
I think the gravel lot in the back would still count as impervious. It was existing impervious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's only one kind of stone that's considered pervious.
Impervious, yeah.
I can't remember what it is. But
Well,
then our
it's-
zoning ordinance requires all parking to be paved,
Okay.
so.
The semi-pergolas is paved. It's just what allows water to go.
But it has specific,
I don't know what the concrete they're using, but I know a lot of your fast food restaurants now are putting in a concrete around in their parking areas, and water will run through it. But it's solid like regular concrete. But you look at it, it's really rough. If you ever watch it rain on it, the water does not shed off of it, it sucks through it.
Wow. That's
so I don't suppose when you were drawing all these pretty pictures, you ran any numbers on them.
Cost-wise?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're at roughly 7,000 square feet, and just from talking to contractors recently, we're around $200 a square foot for construction right now. That does not include site work. The site work on this might be $500,000 to $750,000, something like that. That would not include playground equipment. That's another $500,000. Playground equipment is not cheap.
but some of that can be
But
done
yeah,
in
we can do
stages.
it in phases, so,
Yeah.
I mean, but you're not saying, numbers that we weren't expecting, but I think. I was expecting between $1.5 to $2 million at a minimum, so.
Yeah. Yeah, and some of the parking could be phased as well.
Because I noticed in one, maybe it's option 3, that there was parking beyond the little parcel on the other side of Beaver Dam Creek.
Yeah. I wasn't sure what to do with that little triangle, but in that one option, it seemed like the parking worked out.
I have my own drawings, and that's the only thing I ever had over there was parking.
Yeah.
And a pretty sign on the peak in the
Right.
corner right there.
But you could get, what was it, the 12 spaces over there, so that's something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I like the idea of like having a bridge over the ditch right there that could maybe be incorporated into a sidewalk system on Dr. Jones
Yeah.
Boulevard at some point going forward.
That'd be fun.
I hope you're too quiet.
Are you loving it?
I am loving it. I was wondering about the timeline too. I'm sorry I missed the first part, but I was doing another civic thing. So, and Kevin will get me up to speed when we get home. So it all looks great, and I'm excited. And we're serving lots of families. I told you in that report.
Mm-hmm.
So little families that I meet at the coffee shop and tell them about story time. So, for the library, yeah.
President number 3, that turn on the right side of the entry, it's pretty sharp. Is
It
that, is it doable?
It's gonna be tight. We might need to, when it comes down to it, kind of move the entry a little bit to the west
Mm-hmm.
to get it to work out and not take out those trees.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a bit tight.
Are those existing trees?
They are.
Okay.
Yeah, all the trees shown are existing
I got you.
in their rough locations based
Okay.
on a Google map.
Gotcha.
There's no survey of the trees,
Mhm.
but that's pretty close. And you can see in the plans, when we had to remove one of the existing trees, it's shown dashed. So that option,
I
That
say option
option
3
two-
kills 3 trees.
yeah, the 3 does take out a number of trees. Whereas option 1 only takes out 1, and option 2 takes out 2.
I do have a question. I was curious, you have 3 playground spaces on option 3. So I didn't know, I mean, was there a reason 3? Or you? Playground.
It's really just sort of space that could be developed into something.
But you, okay, you're just leaving it as green space, kind of.
Yeah. It could be a playground, it could be a activity lawn, it could be this arboretum idea, whatever that, like a garden kind of space.
Yeah, I think we had a request for an
Walkways.
arboretum as one from one of the donors. So, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So maybe that playground on the Center Street side could become the arboretum.
Could be.
Is there any thoughts to what that means in this case, arboretum? Is it just kind of like a garden space developed, or
Natural space. Gotta be trees.
so with just some walkways and some flowers and bushes and things like that?
You could put pergola, make it wedding photos.
Yeah.
People are using this for, I mean, if you want to get the utility of the building, you want it used. So what you don't want it to do is sit there, you're gonna have family reunions, but you want to book it so it'll pay for itself, I assume.
Ideally.
Yeah, nice little pergola would be good right there.
What about the kind of the porch idea from number 1? Is that something that you would want to maybe see incorporate on number 3 somehow? Or?
I don't think it's important if you're not fronting it on Center Street, personally.
I mean, a lot of wedding type venues have an outdoor space that's covered and uncovered space, but sort of as an extension of the main room.
The only thing on option 3, if you put it on the back of the building, you're going to have to slide it closer to the parking lot.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't really want to be on the back of the building here.
Put it on the end where that playground's at.
Right, you could
It would have to be
maybe
constructed in.
face it towards that arboretum,
Yeah.
but then it's off of the library.
What if we, that little green square right here, if that whole thing shifted to touch here, then that would curve your little thing out here, and then you could go over here on this side with a porch.
With a porch next to it, yeah. Good.
That would kind of fix the drive and give a porch space.
Yeah, I like them on option 1A. The covered porch, that could be an area that you could maybe have some outdoor furniture, people could read books. It could be your children's area during good weather, and also if it was a wedding or family get together, that could be the greeting area, or other activities could go on in that area.
This is getting ahead of ourselves, but if we had a playground set up here that was a kid-friendly playground, it was kind of redundant because we already have a kid-friendly playground. What would the board think about if we kind of relocated that playground to this area, and then started pursuing something that was more adult-friendly, like tennis courts, basketball courts for that other space, with a walking track around it and everything?
There's one problem.
Okay.
The land was donated
Right.
to be used as a passive park.
Passive.
So you can't have anything. You can't have courts and stuff on it.
Can't, of course. This passive means what?
like playground equipment, the walking trail, open space, but not like tennis courts, basketball courts, ball field.
Okay.
And tennis courts might be workable there, but definitely not basketball, because the consultant we worked with said a lot of broken glass, a lot of other mischievous activities occur at outdoor basketball courts.
They occur at kid-friendly parks too.
I'm not disputing that either.
I think that's a good idea. I mean, to have the adult sort of out that way and then children area more in town. It just that if we could make it work, because you'd have the library right there and it could spill out into that, and then you have the pavilion there and that could spill over into the park kind of thing.
Is it even potentially revisitable with the donors?
You need to talk to the man who negotiated the deal. I'm just telling him what's in the deal.
I think it's talkable. It's, I think basketball goals would probably not be talkable, but
A tennis court.
tennis courts and,
Walking path. Yeah.
Well, there's already a walking area.
Yeah,
there.
that's what I'm saying. Keep
But-
it.
But I actually think that the chances of that is pretty close to zero, because I don't see them. I mean, it had been a number of years, but they were pretty firm back then. What they were looking for, and so when you talk about tennis courts, you were talking about daytime only, or you can use them at night too. Or,
If you can afford lights, I guess.
well, the school needs tennis courts.
That's what I'm
It would be- it could be a joint venture with the schools, but you'd have to lock them at some point.
Well, another thing too that I thought about that
Charles Johnson doesn't like theirs.
I was gonna throw out there is that splash pads are really popular now instead of pools and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there might be this bigger area, one of those playgrounds might instead be a splash pad
Mm-hmm.
type area. And that might be another thing to get people to come off Interstate 42 while they're traveling.
Yeah.
But don't forget doggy parks.
I was saying and dog parks too. And you know that with those 12 parking spaces over on the corner might make a nice little dog park instead. If we could put out the right kind of fencing, so it's not unattractive.
Russ, this is fantastic.
Well, good.
now, let me mention a concern. So, with the amphitheater, which means that if someone wanted to rent a space that they could rent for an outdoor event, and if I were in the business of like putting on outside events or whatever, and this same space is open to other people coming in. So if that's my business and I'm an insurance carrier, that I'm worried about my insurance with people getting hurt on the property that have absolutely nothing to do with my event.
Was that a question?
Yeah, well, and so, if you've got an amphitheater there, obviously, anybody that rents the space can say that I plan on having an outdoor event. And, and so if this person is in the business of doing that, that I'm kind of thinking that, that they may have enough people that will take up all of the excess space. But because this amphitheater lawn area, that what is about the square footage of that?
I mean, if you include kind of under the trees, it's probably about the same as the building, probably 7,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to adopt rules or guidelines, and if it was a mini concert or an outdoor event, just have armbands of people who paid to be there, and if you're not paid, you'd have security to.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could set up, snow fence, around the event or something like that, temporary fencing or whatever. But, I mean, there's lots of communities, Kinston being one of them, that has the amphitheater down by the river, and they had stand in the streets, I think it was weekly during the summertime, and they'd have bands playing and people just kind of wander in and wander out.
I don't think anywhere I've ever been has tried to worry about gating off a public place like this. These kind of concerts are where you have a sponsor that is sponsoring an event, like a community day or something, and the community day hires the band to play, and everybody's welcome to come. We're not into like having, Cheap Trick come and charge tickets to, for everybody. So, yeah, I don't see that as a concern at all. Like, if there's a band that wants to come and perform and they want to rent it to perform, then they're performing at free a concert as far as we're concerned.
Goldsboro during the summer pre-COVID-19 had Thursday night out downtown where they have bands or activities, and Kinston obviously does the same.
Yeah, and like food trucks, being pulled up in the parking lot nearby or on the street or whatever. Yeah.
I have a question about option 3. What would a possibility of moving the stage to the back be and having the side where the stage is now open onto the outdoor stage? And so it's kind of like a terrace and an outdoor stage, and maybe we can incorporate some of the front porch elements that we're losing from the other design.
I guess the question there would be, do you want the outdoor stage to be raised up? Because if it's raised, then it would be hard to open the meeting room to it. If it's at the same level as the grade, then you could walk right out onto it. But then your lawn seating won't be able to see as well with what's happening on the stage if it's at the same level as the grade. But
I don't want to be too complicated about it. I was just asking a question.
yeah, well, I'm just saying it would depend on how high you want that stage to be.
Yeah.
So how high is it in the picture?
It's about 30 inches or so, so it's high enough that people can be seen from 60, 75 feet away.
And that's the outside or the inside?
That's the outside.
So would the inside be roughly the same height, or would it be lower?
It's a little bit lower just because of the length of ramp that you need to get up to it.
Yeah, what I was kind of envisioning too is you could almost have if they were the same height, you could have just a center door access that passed through to either one for loading and unloading equipment, or, or like kind of like she said, just kind of using it as a porch space if you were having an event.
Yeah.
And then it could be covered with a stage curtain or something, you pull back and there's a double door, it goes right out.
Right. Yeah, you could do that if they're at the same height. Yeah.
Adam, do you want a copy to look at?
Yes, I can.
That way, it's a 4 chain of stage, same, depending on what you're using it for.
Mhm.
What's the seating capacity?
120 in the big part, and 50 in the little part for the,
Yeah.
with round table.
Square footage?
About 7,000.
7,000?
You got sprinkler system planning?
I don't think we're that far along yet.
Yeah, it hasn't been planned yet, but I don't think it would be required because of the occupancy,
I mean, simply?
because it'd be under 300.
Yeah, it's not 300.
Adam is our
well,
fire chief and the county fire marshal.
I was getting that idea.
We're thinking of having a sprinkler pad outside
Yeah,
for
that'd be-
kids.
I like that idea.
Our grandkids.
Any more questions, or you putting it on Facebook, the Facebook poll, and having a public comment section next meeting, and hopefully make a decision that we can go forward on 1, 2, 3. Kevin?
Yeah, what's the grade change across the site? Do you know?
I don't know that. I mean, I know that.
I wouldn't guess there's much of one.
I was thinking flat.
Pretty flat.
Mhm.
It's flat.
It might surprise you. I mean, I think that upper triangle area is kind of the lower spot, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because you're right up against the creek.
Yeah,
That's
from
why I
there
asked.
to Center Street, I bet it's 5 or 6 feet deep, I bet.
Yeah, if I was over. So that's right much of a drop.
Yeah, that's probably more than you think.
That old brick building on Pearl Street had water in it during that July rainstorm. That building's not going to be there. It's
Right. But the more we push our building in that direction.
Well, here's the question I have. We've talked a lot about 1A and talked a lot about 3. Is there any interest in putting 2 out to the public, or?
Well, I would prefer that we give them all of the options that we have.
Okay. Just ask.
But Mr. Martin, I was thinking, if you just give them 2, it might be easier for the majority to come to a consensus. I mean, I like having options too, but for the people who don't look at floor plans every day, you might be a little bit, overwhelmed or intimidated, and so just 2 options, I don't know, might be easier.
Well, I'm thinking that those people who are like that will probably not give you a comment anyway.
You probably are right. Okay.
I mean, you can. It's just my opinion. I don't like option 2.
Nothing personal.
Nothing more. It's not. It's just, you got 3 entrances off of Pearl Street.
Yeah, and you don't
It's
use
get-
the,
it's
you don't
not-
use the little
it's just too
triangle for
busy.
anything, and yeah,
It's just too busy right off the street.
and the number of parking spaces is like 20 less.
Yep.
Yeah.
26.
35 versus
Yeah.
66.
Yeah. Well, and if y'all will remember that one of my biggest the things that I said was about, having adequate parking, on site.
Mhm.
Yeah, option 3 gives you the most parking.
Mhm.
And on option 1, it didn't show parking on the triangle, but we know 12 spaces will fit over there.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and then option 3 also gives us utilization of the current building until time to demolish or somebody take it.
Is there an opportunity to put the community center activities somewhere else during construction?
The various churches might can step in for some other civic functions, but the answer is no.
Originally, when we were gonna remodel it, we had worked out a deal with, who was it, Lee? VFW? Was it VFW in Pine Level? Were you even here then? Oh. Right. Do you remember who it was? It was a building Pine Level that we were gonna refer people who needed space, and like the Masonic, the Lions Club, they were gonna meet it,
Moose
allow them to
Lawn,
meet over there.
done Moose Lawn.
No, it was in
Legion
Pine,
building.
maybe, it was and I think now Pine Level actually owns that building, but, the town does, but we had something worked out for the people who met regularly at the community building to go to Pine Level to meet during the construction period, but
But it still is, as the pandemic is becoming less and less a factor, we are getting real income off of it. So it certainly needs updating, which we are doing in the right manner. Okay, so the question is, do we allow all 3 or just give 2 options? And I don't have a preference.
If you give two
how do you feel
options,
about option 2?
I prefer 1 and 3.
Yeah, and also there's
I
no
like
pass
one,
through
I
from
like
center to
three.
Pearl on option 2. I say we'd scrap option 2. I just don't see that as a viable option. And there's no pass through from center to Pearl on that one. And
I just think option 2, it kind of separates it from the other 2 options. You can at least have access from center and Pearl.
One of the things I don't like about option number 2 is that I prefer things to be facing not Pearl Street, but at least more facing Center Street. And by gardens, we can make that happen with 3.
Well, if the majority think that we should just go with 1 and 3, I'm not gonna be a hindrance to it.
Okay. I don't think we need to vote on that, we just, but option 1 and 2 is, 1 and 3 is the, for public comment.
I think you should vote on that.
I don't have a problem voting, I'm just trying to get a consensus. Voting is a form of consensus.
So if we go with 1, are we also providing 1B? Or just 1A? Are we doing 1A, 1B, and 3?
The only difference is that angle
Right.
to the meeting room and the amphitheater.
And we could adjust that if we wanted to.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'd say just do 1 and 3.
1A,
Yeah, once, cause that's a tool.
A and 3.
1A and 3. I'm good with that. Those are my favorite two.
Is there a motion to that order?
Make a motion, we have a Facebook poll for versions 1A and 3 and a demonstration in the town hall lobby of these two options to get public support before the next meeting.
And public comment after the next meeting.
Public comment.
Okay. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, motion passes. And we'd love to have you here at next meeting if it's in your schedule.
Okay.
Be
Let me,
first
let me
Monday.
ask, do you want me to do any of the changes we talked about? Maybe like adding the incubator space back into 3
Yes, I would,
to kind of get that square footage to match and?
Yeah.
Okay.
because I think that is a very important part of, there are a lot of people who have home businesses that don't want to get a client at their home.
That gonna take you a long time?
No, it shouldn't. Yeah, what dates are we talking about? When would you need the plans back?
Well, I was gonna do it tomorrow, but
I wasn't planning on working tonight on it.
yeah, so, I mean, I guess just as quick as you can, because we want to put it out for as long as we can, because we meet in 2 weeks.
We'll do it at the end of the week. Is that okay?
And if you'll just email me, some files that I can get printed and mounted on some board.
Okay. I can do that.
So we're at 1,400,000 with just, well, it's gonna be more than that because he said that.
Add 500 for the site work.
Yeah. so-
We're at 2 million.
Yeah. Well, and you're at 2 million without having bought anything to go inside.
Well, this is not reality, but Congressman Rouser's office has asked for what projects that they might can help us with. And is $1 million that we've,
Well, they kind of target 1 million.
yes. So this would be a project they could be helpful with. We have 500,000 from the General Assembly. The county gave 200,000 to Micro's community building that doesn't exist. They have one that is it's condemned. So in the General Assembly it does have excess money. So I'm saying in theory, not in reality, this project might be funded without any borrowed money.
Well, in fact, we have $588,000 in donations and grants in the bank and an additional $20,000 pledge. So we have $608,000 towards the project.
And I could take these plans next week or 2 weeks from now, and I know several people who will donate money based on these plans, but not what we did 4 years ago or 5 years ago.
Right. Right.
Because this pops. And this would leave room for art classes and other activities for the media center as well, right?
Would this be considered an access drive coming out here?
No, I'm sorry, that's the,
It's a ditch.
that's the ditch, yeah.
My concern is, 150-foot pool on a fire truck being
Yeah.
the backside, so that might be something to consider.
Okay. Mhm.
I don't know how far that is, I can measure that out, see how far it's close, I won't worry about it,
Yeah. Or we might have to have a drive that kind of goes around one side or
but
something.
like right here, like just trying to get around the backside.
Can't you stop from that boat?
If you
Cross the stream?
If you, no, you can't cross the stream. unless you
Well,
can-
No, no, you wouldn't cross the stream, but I'm saying, you'd be able to get, you're within, that stream's what, 8 feet, 10 feet?
So I can't have a firefighter jump across the stream.
Not jump, but you could shoot the hose over.
No, that's not how it works.
Three-sided building, you're getting to 3 sides of it.
What's somebody that with a heart attack back there?
Well, you're not going back with a hose with them, you're gonna rescue them. You're saying you need to pull forward
Yeah.
so you can,
There's,
you don't need, I mean, you need, what do you need, 12 feet to get, to be on the surface? You need a hard surface back there so you can get
it
truck?
has to
a
be
single lane?
code is 20 foot wide, all weather surface. But if he's within, the code is 150. But if you're 175, even 200, I wouldn't sweat it.
Did you look at pipe in the stream at all in that, just for that section? Because then you could combine it, then you wouldn't have any issue.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the state and the,
State ain't gonna let you do it.
Mhm.
'Cause that
Army
ditch
Corps of
is-
Engineers have
Yeah.
declared jurisdiction over that stream.
it's meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
It is to them.
I mean,
That's
So like you did, have you seen when we did the work?
with their eyes open.
over there.
Yeah, we did the work down to a certain level
Yeah,
and didn't go any further. That was as far down as we could go because we couldn't go below the high water mark.
but
So everything below it's protected. We couldn't touch it.
would they let you, they won't let you even create a crossing
No,
for any kind
they
of?
won't even let you get in there and get a stick out of it.
Snail rules.
What did they find? Did they find like a spotted frog or something?
No, I mean there are fish and frogs and lizards and whatever else down in
That
there.
particular stream?
Yeah.
Bunch of turtles.
In fact, it's protected from
turtles.
just behind the town hall here is where it picks up. And
Endangered
it's protected all the way through
They're
town.
endangered of it, I
I think it's doable. We'll look
Because
at
we had it
it.
evaluated for drainage work purposes.
Yeah,
And then like where we put the new
come around
culvert,
here or something and get
Kevin,
you
on
more
Pearl
land.
Street, on the other side of it, we weren't allowed to touch anything.
Right.
All weather surface, whatever. But
Yeah.
it is have to look at it.
And so Marla, 2 weeks will be enough time to give to the community so that we don't have to come back in May and say, oh, we need more time. And I know that the wheels of, town and municipal stuff move slowly, but,
Well, I feel like if we can get a Facebook poll up by the end of the week,
that will count.
and then we'll.
So that you can make the
We'll-
decision.
And we'll do a press release, and we're gonna put it up on easels out in the lobby, and then advertise it as a public comment.
And so as long as I've done that,
Yeah.
you can still move ahead in
Right, and we
May.
might,
Russ, how far is this projected to be from the?
and we might even go so far as like send out some local
It's like
churches,
5 to 8 feet.
and see if they'll put it in their bulletin that we have,
So if we had
these
to
plans.
take one tree off.
That might
slide
be
the whole
Lee's
thing
job
forward a
tomorrow
little
to
bit,
put something together.
Okay.
if we needed to get
She's
to
not
the
in
back of the
there,
building, like he was talking about,
No.
with just one tree, and that would soften that curve there too.
What?
I said, I like this
Well,
plan.
he's
It's way better
he's
than the
talking
old
about a
one.
20-foot
Mhm.
roadway.
But it can be all
We might need to go
weather.
around both sides of the building.
Okay.
You can pull a hose 150 feet from a roadway.
That's right. So
Yeah.
as long as we can get up to there and then it measures across. If you had to, like you said, if you had to put a all-weather one just right through here, you leave the grass there, but you still build all-weather under the holder 75,000 pounds. And you get it right here. If your total length of the building is what was it, like 100 and what's 40?
It's probably about 100 feet.
Yeah. So we get to the corner of one side at the time. You might lose a tree or slide a plug around there a little bit after the market.
You need a certain width in the back for access.
Well, we won't drive to the back out because if you left it right there, you won't be able to drive back. But as long as we get to the corner, we can pull across at least one side or the other, you'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if it's like 8 feet, 5 feet to the top of the bank, Or does it need to be more than that?
I don't think so, we just have to look at it.
Okay.
What's the exterior of the building? Do you envision it to be brick, concrete, what kind of,
I mean, I was kind of thinking maybe board and batten, metal siding, kind of more sort of agricultural, but also residential, but not overly institutional. But if you want to go more towards brick and an institutional look, I think that's fine too.
or maybe a mixture of both?
Yeah, or maybe like a brick base and then siding or something above it, something like that. I mean, there's a lot of options there.
Like hardy plank or?
Right.
Okay.
Or a board and batten in hardy plank material.
And the pitch of the roof would be,
I mean, the first option being on the street, I was thinking more, a little bit higher pitch to give that residential feel. And the one that's out, option 3, I think could maybe be somewhat lower pitch. I was also, somebody mentioned the 42 and, what are they? What are they called? The farm.
Barn mediums.
Yeah, the farm on
Farm
42.
42, farm 95.
Yeah. And I looked at some of those pictures, and that's more sort of metal siding and board and batten and stone and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Kind of looks like a big farm kind of feel. I thought that might be appropriate for option 3, where it's in the middle of the property.
On the, this 5 to 8 feet, though, how much do you think, like the builder is gonna need to get back there and actually work? Would that be enough space for them to
Yeah,
work?
we'll have to look at that too. I mean, 10 feet might be better.
Yeah. And on the incubator space, is that gonna kind of come off this front corner up here, do you think, or where do you think?
I guess what I was thinking was that, looking at the option 3 floor plan, that maybe that kind of vestibule that goes in the library right now, it would just kind of continue through, and then put the incubator on one side and the library on the other. And then that would make the library probably stick out a little bit further, as well as the incubator. So I think you'd still have sort of a building line that's the same across the side there. But it would have to stick out more, which means we'd have to push the building more to the east
Mhm.
to not get into the existing building.
how difficult would it be to do a 3D concept? Where you show
We can do it. I'm not sure about by Friday, but
Okay, all right, I understand.
And exactly how costly is
and
it?
you'd want 2 of them, of course, right? For both options. Because if you just showed option 3 with a 3D, they kind of know which way you were going.
So, you said you were gonna make some changes. Can we get a recap of what all changes you were gonna make to this?
Well, I guess it was mostly that incubator space and making, getting a little more footage in there. But why don't we talk about that maybe a little more specifically? I guess looking at option 1, we've got kind of a little reception area, with a couple chairs, and then we've got a conference room, 2 offices, and a workroom off of that. Is that kind of what you think would be appropriate?
Yeah, because the workroom could be, I like the idea the library can use the workroom as well, but the workroom might be, yes, I like it.
And kind of that little sort of reception space, right? I guess you could possibly rent out an office and another office separately, and they could sort of use a shared reception space and workroom, something like that. Okay. Well, I'll try to sort of make it match those number of spaces as an option 1.
And hope would that space be adequate for an art classes to go on if it's not used, or you would?
The conference room, is that what you're talking about at the
Yeah,
front?
yes.
That looks like it, yeah, yes.
I mean, for a,
It looks big, yeah.
200 square feet.
200 square feet. Kevin says it's a big room.
I mean, in terms of a classroom situation, it'd probably be big enough for 10 to
10
12.
people.
8, yeah. Any more
Let's
than
not
that.
forget, we have the small 50-person room over here that has a dividing wall that you could divide off and just use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's access to a kitchen for cleaning it up.
Option 3 seems like it seems like it's more efficient, more, gonna be less costly, because you have less cuts, you're pretty rectangular, you're half the size of the lobby. The other one, you have about 850 square feet just in the hallway that, doesn't really give you a lot of utility. You're gonna heat and cool it, but you're not gonna really use it. This is about 400 square foot lobby, or a little more. Just seems like there might be a better use of the space and constructible. I mean, you've got a lot of angles in the other one, that
Yeah.
a lot of turns, and which is architecturally interesting, but more expensive, I would expect.
Well, option 1B has less angles.
That's
I
true.
kinda like the angles.
I really did. I mean, I wish there was a
I
way
like
to
it
take
too,
the
but-
layout of
But
1A
angles
and
cost.
fit it
Walter's got a
in the
wallet
spot,
there, he's
yeah,
worried
and
about.
put it in the spot on 3.
The interior, like as
We-
far as
but
ceiling
we don't
heights and
want
stuff,
another
are
parking
you
lot, right?
like cathedral then, or is it
Well,
just
I mean,
flat, or
I mean,
what are you thinking
council-
inside?
I mean, I was
Well,
thinking
the,
the big room would definitely have a
so
cathedral or some sort of nice ceiling.
That
And
was
then the
a
rest,
cheap looking building.
we could look at that, or we could do kind of 10-foot ceilings everywhere.
It is what we could afford at
And
that
that's
time.
kind of options down the road.
Yeah.
what they were willing to spend.
Yeah.
Because they
And are
could
you
have
gonna
built a
put that
different
center
kind of
door
building.
in the back that we could use to stage as a porch area, maybe?
Yeah, we can do that. I think it'll mean the
I
outdoor
know-
stage has to be a little bit
I know more
lower.
details on that.
But it can still be,
Curious
it's only gonna be,
probably.
or we gotta make the ramp to the indoor stage longer.
Okay,
So it's kind of one or the other.
gotcha. Well, the good thing about this area is dropping the whole way. So whatever is here, this guy's even if that was on the ground, he's 3 feet lower down here. So it's kind of a natural fall.
Yeah, and I guess that'll make the stage could be a little bit higher because of that,
Mm.
because the grade is dropping. We might be able to kind of work the grades a little bit.
Mm.
Okay. Any other questions?
Just put an H on amphitheater there.
I noticed that.
Oh, what's that?
He's gonna claim he didn't type that word.
Okay.
I saw it and I was like, ah.
Hope, do you want it to be called library or media center?
Yeah, I wanted to ask that question.
I wanted to be called library. I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
old school.
Mhm.
I mean,
Library /
Yeah,
media
we can
center.
do both.
I think most people understand that the library stands for all of that, and it is also a community center now. It's not just books or not just books and magazines. So I think
Cultural
it's,
center, really.
it is, and I think it's understood. So I think library is fine. I'm not going to quibble as long as I get a place. And it's called Princeton Public something. You'll make me happy. So, if everybody else wants it to be media center,
I'm happy if you're happy.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay.
Okay, I think we're fine.
Okay. Good, we'll get back to work.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You did a great job.
Yes.
Thank you.
You want to keep an extra copy for anybody?
I actually need,
Give yours away.
yeah. I'm assuming, Abby, you want to take yours back to the fire department?
Yes, sir, I think it would be
Okay.
May I have this one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if anybody has any
Oh,
comments
you
in
want
the
your
next
computer
couple
back?
days, you know, let me know.
I already got it for you.
That's okay.
We're gonna keep it.
Okay, our next is to start our discussion on budget.
You want me to talk? Okay. So, I think the biggest discussion we're gonna have this year is, about salaries and what level salaries we're gonna pay. And then to see how they fit into the budget. So I've given you three pieces of paper. The first one I'd like for you to look at is the town of Wilson's Mills. This is how they assign salary ranges to their positions.
Did you get two? You got two copies or?
You didn't just grab mine, did you?
Are you missing this, Dawn?
Yeah.
Do you have any more of these? Dawn can't find this.
I don't need them.
That reminds me of someone else that couldn't find theirs either. But I'm not gonna call any names because we're being recorded.
So for July 1 of this year, this is how the salary ranges that Wilson's Mills assigned to their positions. And the reason I think this is important, as I brought it when we were discussing police salaries, is that they've had a market study done of what the salaries for equivalent positions are in our region. And so this seems like it'd be a good place to start. And our jobs are not divided up the same way. They don't really have a public works department there. They have a couple of people in public works, but they're not doing the types of things we're doing, and they don't have a whole crew of people doing those types of things. But they do have a couple of positions listed here.
So, how do they get their stuff accomplished? So they don't have a waste treatment plant?
They have no sewage operation at all.
Okay.
They have no water operation.
They don't sell
the
utilities.
The county takes.
Okay, all right, okay.
Now, there is discussion for them to purchasing that from the county, but that's currently not what they do.
Okay.
Now, I just wanted to show that to you because as close as we can come without having our own market study done for our positions, I think these numbers are important. And so then I took those numbers and I applied them to the colored sheet here, our classifications. And so the ones that are in green are the ones we have already adjusted this year, and the ones in yellow are proposed adjustments for this year. And then I added some columns to this paper to show the percentage increase. And so if you remember, I used to print it out on legal size paper, and I'm now going to ledger size paper so the numbers are big enough for everybody to see. Because I was getting a little pushback on my legal size piece of paper with the numbers being so small. And so it gives you, as before, years of service as of December 1, 2022, what the current salary or hourly rate is, what the proposed salary or hourly rate is, the percentage change that it is, and then allows for holiday pay if someone has to, and that's if they have to work on the holiday and they can't take it off, and budgeting to pay that, and then budgeting to pay overtime if comp time can't be utilized. The people who qualify for longevity pay, what that amount would be, and it gives you total salary expense. And then the next columns are workers' comp, FICA, which is Social Security, Medicare, retirement expense, 401k expense for police officers, a health insurance expense, but I just increased our current 15% because we don't have quotes on that yet. And then it gives you the total per position, and then a total between general employees and the police department. And then at the bottom, it breaks it down between general fund and water and sewer. And then I showed the annual difference this year for 21-22 already reflects the increases in the police department salary and how much additional money it would take to increase the general salaries as proposed. And then there are a couple little tweaky things. If you look at the public works position, there's $30.08 in parentheses there. That would actually be the beginning hourly rate, and $30.83 would be what the rate was after he gets his last certification. He's one certification away from being fully certified to operate our system, so every time he gets one, he gets a 2.5% pay increase. And then in the police department, Lieutenant Toole was just appointed to that position. After 6 months, he would get a 5% pay increase per our personnel policy. And then our 2 vacant positions, if we hire 2 people who have probationary certifications, they'll be on probation for a year each, so they would only be making $21.44 an hour. But if we happen to hire an officer who already has their certification, they would only be on probation for 6 months. And so after 6 months, they would get a 5% increase. So allowed a 2.5%. So they'd be at one rate for half the time and the other rate for half the time. And that's why there's 2.5% there instead of 5%. Because it would only be for 6 months, a maximum of 6 months. And then if you see the Radford supplement, that $6,066 is how much we have to pay Lieutenant Radford from now until the month after he turns 62. That's required by the state when someone retires in law enforcement. And the chief and I have not negotiated part-time hours, so I just used the number of hours we had last year.
Have they all been used up?
Well, it's hard to tell because of, I think we have probably some more than we would have if we'd have had 5 full-time officers all the time. And that's why I said we haven't negotiated what that would look like.
Quick question on part-time officers. Obviously, we pay their FICA and other contributions in that regard, but do we pay any to their retirement?
No.
Okay. It's not a matter of choice that we use part-time, but from a financial standpoint, it helps our budget.
I was trying to follow everything. The 659 number that's here, does that includes the increases that have already been made to the police salaries, correct?
Oh, what number?
The 659,184.
Yes.
2020?
Yes.
Okay. Do you happen to know what we had actually budgeted last year at this time for that number?
No, but I was just thinking I can go back and capture that number.
It'd be somewhere around 10% less, right?
Hmm?
It'd be somewhere around 10% less, right?
Well, I mean, that 659 is everybody's salary.
Right. I'm referring to the total budgets. It would be roughly 90% of what we have here.
I can come close if you give me just a second. It would be somewhere around 605,000.
Okay.
And that's just doing a quick and dirty calculation, but I can get the exact number. But when I got there, it looked familiar to me.
Have you gotten any notification from the county of increased water?
I have not, but yeah, I always look at the general fund budget first, because the water and sewer budget just usually falls into place after we set the salaries and find out what the county is gonna charge us.
Okay, so projected property tax and sales tax, you'll get to us next, right?
Yeah, that's next, but, you know, I just wanted to get some input, yes, no, look closer at this, lower that, increase that, the other. I think the salary piece is gonna be what everything rotates around this year.
Well, I want to make this statement that we did address the police department and obviously we have public works and the town hall staff, and we certainly want to be fair on compensation for all employees. So with that objective in mind, the Wilson Mills study is important because they contracted Piedmont Triad to do the study, and geographically it's 20 miles away. We're similar in size, and I think it's a good guide.
The health insurance numbers, are they just ballpark estimates? We don't have a
Yes.
number back?
Yeah, I took what our number was this year and added 15%, which typically our increase is between 10 and 12.
Mhm.
But,
So-
we don't have and sometime in the first part of May, we'll get the new retirement percentages. I didn't adjust those at all because I put so much on health insurance.
Mhm.
So I kind of just put 15% overall on between retirement and health insurance. And when we get the actual quotes, we'll have to adjust to the actual number.
So it's around 563 a month this year?
I am sure I could not tell you. Like, well, so that number includes vision, dental, life,
Okay.
and health.
Okay, gotcha.
So I can divide it out. I can take away the 15%, divide by 12, and tell you what all those add up to.
But that's our share, not the family share. At this point, I don't have any questions.
I know it's a lot of numbers and information. and I knew we had a lot of other things going on tonight, but, this is what I think is the most important to be absorbed and discussed and tweaked and adjusted.
With the vacancies we've had in the police, is that reflected anywhere in the salaries we haven't been paying?
Not on this, I can do a, budget versus actual report for you, and so we'll have, our salaries are running about the same, because I looked at them not too long ago. We're within our salary limits, and they're about where they need to be. I think they're maybe off, one thing was off maybe 5%, but I'm pretty sure that's where we had to pay out to Lieutenant Radford's vacation.
You mean
Comp time and vacation. Well, he didn't have any comp time anymore, because we had paid that
Okay,
before.
right.
But we had to pay for 240 hours of vacation
Mhm.
when he retired.
And
But you can see the savings at the benefits. So what I was leading up to is the health insurance, where we haven't had two people on health insurance. Those are under. But the salaries and salary related totals are about what they should be.
And the 6,066, you said that's an annual payment we make until he turns 62?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay.
But we pay it on the same frequency that we normally pay. So every 2 weeks you'll get a check that's a 26th of that 6,066.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
But there's actually a statutory formula
Yeah.
that you apply to, it was his retirement amount, right?
We did that for Chief Lewis,
Right.
till he turned 62.
And so,
Which is
The lieutenant's
about 7
birthday is in
years.
May,
About
I
7
mean,
years.
February, and he just turned 55
Right.
this year.
Cause I don't
So,
remember how old.
we'll
how
pay him
much
through, what year is it,
Older
Two-
that
so
was.
7 years, so 2029,
29.
he'll be
Chief Lewis is my
pay
age
him
right now.
in,
So he's old.
I think his birthday's the first of the month. So we'll probably have to pay him one time in February, and then the next time he'll be 62, so
So
we'll pay
he
him.
was 69, right?
I'm 67.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Graduated.
But that amount doesn't go up, it's that exact amount.
Any further questions, or you want to? Hopefully, the May meeting, we will have time to start budget meeting too, but
That, we actually, that the $6,000 figure on the lieutenant is actually low, because had he been employed with us most of his career, that would be almost 3 times that.
okay, so our May meeting is the 2nd, and we have a meeting proposed on the 16th as well.
Did you hear that?
No, I'm sorry. I was going over a number.
The next budget meeting after the, May 2nd meeting, is it on the 16th? 2 weeks later?
Yes, that's 2 weeks later.
So we've got a public comment section, and anything, make a decision in the community building. Is there anything else on our agenda that is going to is there any public hearings or anything?
Yes.
We have a special use public hearing.
Okay. All right, well, we'll be here until we get it done.
That is so I guess so we're about 120 plus some extra retirement stuff higher on the total salary outlay than last year. Does our revenue growth and everything show that we can do all that within our budget pretty well? That's sort of what you're seeing so far?
I'm optimistic for what I've seen so far, but I haven't got it all down yet. That's why it's not in front of you.
Okay.
But I brought this to you to see if these are the numbers you want me to keep working with.
This brings more parity in all departments. And that's what I'd like to work with.
I don't know if y'all saw the commissioners meeting, but they just passed a $6.6 million pay study. Goes in effect May 1st.
$6 million pay study.
$6.6 million increase for all employees.
Well, 5,000 of those are school employees.
This is county employees, not school employees.
That's a whole different subject.
Yeah, whole different group of people.
That's mostly a state.
Yeah.
So how many employees are we talking about sharing this $6.6 million?
I don't know, it's, somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 people, I think. It's huge, so, just FYI.
Have our department heads looked over this and have an opinion?
I don't see any issue.
Any other questions? None, is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes, sir, there is.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? All right, we're gonna continue that.
Our next meeting is just the first of the month, is when we're going to talk about this some more, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.